So one of the first question Mr. Gibran asked actually from Pakistan, and his question is, can I get E2 investment visa with under $50,000 investment? What is the minimum investment required to obtain E2 visa?
And that's a very good question because I get that question a lot. Theoretically, you can invest 10,000 and get this visa, but that's theoretically. The reality is when you go get the visa at the consulate, you have to show that you're committing to that investment. And you have to show that it has a projection of 5 years. So a $50,000 investment in a business really does not show that commitment. I have done it with that small amount, but then I show that the investor will be investing 20,000 every year or maybe 30,000 every year. And I show a business plan that shows how all the money that's going to be committed. Because there's some situations where people only have 50 now, but they're waiting for maybe a trust account that's going to give them some money, or sale of assets, or some family inheritance, and they can make up the difference that the consulate, with the consular officer who's going to interview them, believes, oh yeah, this person is committed, and we have a 5-year projection, because there has to be a 5-year projection for the success of the company.
Oh, okay. Mr. Rizwan, who's currently visiting United States, is asking, can I convert my visit visa into an E2 or EB5 visa, or do I have to go back to my country to apply for visa? What are your recommendations?
You can, yes, there's something called change of status. So if you enter as a tourist, you can change to any other status. You can change to a student status, you can change to an E2, you can change your status to an EB5. However, first the E2. If I change your status to an E2, you're changing your status. You don't have a visa. The visas are only issued at the consulate. So what you need is a visa and your passport. And unfortunately, USCIS, because they don't do a lot of E2 processes, they're very difficult with them. They equate them to something else called the L visa, which is very discretionary to grant. So I always recommend my client, let's do the E2 visa at the consulate. And that's very important, because at the consulate, there's a specific officer who adjudicates E2s. It's not the same person usually that does tourist visas or student visas. And this person is a representative of the Department of State, because E2s are based on a treaty of commerce that we have with that country. So Pakistan has that treaty of commerce. India doesn't. Colombia does. Venezuela doesn't. Spain does. Portugal doesn't. So we have to have that treaty of commerce, and the consulate will have that specific person that's familiar with that treaty to issue the E2 visa, which is not like if we change the status of USCIS. As far as the change of status to the EB5 green card, the problem is we could do it, but the person's going to be here for 4 years and they don't have another visa to be here unless they're a student. So if it's a student and you're here studying, then you can wait the 4 years here and we can change your status to EB5. But for the majority of the people, they want a consular processing because they want to be in their country, making the money that they make, living the standards that they have, and then come over when the petition has been approved.
All right. My next question is from Mr. Noor Lawari. He's asking, can I apply for E2 or EB5 visa with the loan money or gift money from family or a friend, or do I need to have my own money? Exactly how much money is acceptable as a gift or as a loan?
Now, let me cover the EB5 first, because it's extremely popular with EB5. As you are familiar with, there's some countries that you cannot take out $900,000 and transfer to US. And so it has to be from gifts from different family members. So it can't be a gift, and it doesn't matter who the gift is. Well, I'm sorry, let me retrace it. It does matter, because the person who made the money that's gifting it, we have to show that they're lawful source of funds. So even though it's a gift, we just have to make sure that the person who obtained those funds in order to gift them is, the funds are legal, basically, that they're not illegal funds. So it's very, very, very common with the EB5. With the E2, it's not really that common, because it's not the 900,000 or 1.8 million that the investor has to have in order to get the EB5 green card. It is just for the E2. And yes, it can be a gift. It can be a gift from a family member or a relative. The one thing that I'm very wary of with E2s is that since it's not a large amount of money, it doesn't show a commitment if it's all a gift. but it can be a gift. There's nothing in the regulations that say it cannot be a gift. The important thing for the E2 is I would show the relationship. Same with the EB5. I show the relationship of why this person is gifting the money. You just can't say, my neighbor's giving the money. I'm sure you could, but you have to explain why.
All right. So if there is an explanation, they can, get gift money, or they can get loan, and they can apply for these visas. Correct?
Yes, and for the EB5, the loan has to be on personal assets. So it can't be a loan on my company, but it can be a loan of my house.
No. Okay.
Or unless it's a gift, then the gift can be on, without a loan.
All right. So another question I got from Mr. Fayaz, who's a businessman. He asked and he's asking, one of his friend has a gas station in Northern Virginia. Can I do a partnership with my friend? If yes, how much money is required for such partnership?
For an E2, the investor that's going to be applying for the visa must have at least 51% of control of the investment.
Okay.
So you have to talk to an accountant to see what would be the appropriate price for 51% of the shares of that. So you're going to have to, if you're purchasing the property, or the business, it's a little different. But if you're going into a partnership, then you have to show that the value that you receive for 51% of the shares is actually a real value. So you have to go through account. So yes, you can do that. With the EB5, you can do that also. And the EB5, you don't have to be at 51%. If I'm going to invest in a factory, and my friend wants, let's say I'm a US citizen, I'm investing in the factory, and my friend wants to invest in that factory, all we have to show is that she invested 900,000 or 1.8, whatever the situation is, she can be a passive investor. So for the EB5, it doesn't matter how much percentage you have in the project, but for the E2, you have to be an investor because you have to direct and develop. So therefore, you have to be an investor that owns at least 51%.
All right. So, Marisa, according to your opinion or your recommendation, do you recommend my viewers, if they want to apply for E2 visa or EB5 visa? I mean, what visa is best for them, E2 or EB5?
So it depends on the situation, of course. The EB5 is the green card. So if you have children who are going to be going to the university in like 4 or 5 years, do the EB5 because that's their future. The E2 is a temporary visa, which many people come in order to test the market. And when they get used to the US, as we always do, then they opt for the EB5 later. The E2 is an immediate one, as I mentioned, because it's a non-immigrant visa, so they are processed at the consulate. But the EB5 is the future that you want in the United States. So it depends on what the person wants.
All right, and E2 visa holder cannot get their green card. They have to apply for EB5 in order to get their green card, correct?
That is correct. There are some situations where that E2 may open up a subsidiary of their company in Pakistan. So if that's the case, then they can also apply for an EB1, which is usually for multinational executives or managers who have a US company of at least 1 year in the United States. That would be an EB1. So what I do is when someone has an E2 and they come to see me, I evaluate them and see, okay, do you have to make the rest of the investment for the 1.8 to satisfy the 1.8, or can we do an EB1, which then you could save that money?
All right, and I have 2 last questions too, and then we're probably gonna let you go. Thank you so much, for talking to us. Marisa, what is your success ratio? How many people get E2 and EB5 visa through your company?
Okay. As attorneys, we cannot say everything is guaranteed. But what is guaranteed in our firm is that we will try to, if by any chance immigration or the consulate denies a visa, we know that they're entitled to it. So we will tell the client, let's refile, or let's fight it, or let's appeal it. Because before I send a case out, I make sure it qualifies under the regulations. So if I file a case, I'm expecting it to be approved. And as you know, with immigration, you cannot depend 100% that they will approve it or the council will approve it. But I do know that we employ many things like either appeal or contact the senator where that's necessary, or USCIS has an ombudsman to look into a case, and the consulate, of course, has something called the visa office in DC that we can reach out to. They're the attorneys that they don't control the consulates, but they're the attorneys that give the legal opinions to the consulates. So if by contacting them, they can probably correct it with the officer. One very important thing is that we've seen a lot of transition in the last 4 years where a lot of upper level managers of the Department of State left. That means there's a lot of people, and USCIS too, anybody who was ready to retire left. So what happens is there's not a lot of good training in the lower levels. So when that happens, you as an attorney, you have to reach out to managers or the people, directors, who can educate that training. We don't take it personal. In other words, we know that usually we'll say, we think there's a training issue here. And then we bring that to the consular officer or the consulate or the director via visa office or the ombudsman, and then they correct the situation.
Yeah. All right. And if somebody needs to contact you, or if they have any question, what is the best way to contact you?
The best way to contact me is through my email, which is up on the screen, maria.casablanca at Akerman.com. That's the best way. And you also have my telephone number, my direct line number, and my office number. And but the best way is by email, because that way we can schedule a call or a consultation.
You are watching Capital TV Washington, the best South Asian TV channel in North America.
Capital TV Washington.